Okay, so tonight we are going to do, this will be for the PROC Logistic, or for the people writing the SAS code, so this is going to be Logistic Regression. And I'm going to walk through the Logistic Regression and we'll answer some various questions. So somebody was asking about how we could create I had two questions before I started recording. One was, how do you know if your model is any good? And then the second one is, how do you know if, how do you create a ROC curve in SAS? So I'm going to show both of those. I thought what I would do tonight is, are you guys okay with me showing the home equity line of credit data set? That's the bingo bonus, or do you want me to just dive into the other one, the insurance? I can do that one as well, but I'll go either way. How would you guys like me to proceed? I'll do either one.
Insurance.
Insurance? Okay, we got one vote for insurance. Anybody want to? Let's see. We got somebody on. Okay, we got two for insurance. So there we have it, folks. We got two for insurance. That's what we're going to do tonight. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is, last sync session, I showed you guys how to do some stuff in R. Okay, we got some other tools as well. I'm going to use a little bit of SAS Enterprise Miner, which you also have access to. I'm just trying to expose you to some new tools. And I want to show you this real fast, then we'll hop into code. And the reason why we're not hopping into code immediately is because I want to, first of all, expose you to Enterprise Miner, because not a lot of people used it last assignment, and usually a lot of students use it. So somehow I must have, people were using Rattle. I want to at least be aware of the power of SAS Enterprise Miner, which you guys do have access to. So,
Don, we don't have access to it on the virtual machine, though.
No, you don't. You would have to go through SAS On Demand, which when you set up your SAS On Demand, you will get it. You do have it on there. It might be a little slow, but it's still pretty good. It's worth learning how to do it. Let me show you one thing before we get started. Is I'm going to go onto Canvas, and let's see here. And I'm going to go to the home page and take a real quick look, folks. I'm going to come down here to the recordings, and I have special topics, and one is guest speakers. And if you click on guest speakers, I did a sync session on how to use SAS Enterprise Miner. So this is a very quick overview. It's a very powerful tool, and at Sprint, almost everybody uses it. The funny thing is like I get a bunch of our consultants from Accenture came in, and they're all loving R and talking about how great R is. And I think R is a good language, even though I used to work at SAS. I still think R is wonderful. But these guys were laughing at this old fogey, being me, and they were like, SAS is for old timers. And so I fire up SAS, and then I started using Enterprise Miner, and I was, building models in about 20 minutes that was taking them 6 weeks to do. And suddenly they had that come to Jesus moment where they suddenly realized that maybe SAS had some pretty good technology, and now they're all using Enterprise Miner extensively. But then, of course, now I'm telling them, look, keep using R, but I have to force them to use R, because this is such a powerful tool. With that in mind, let me just, I have a desktop copy of this, but you guys would have to use it with SAS On Demand. So let me open this up. We'll use the insurance data set. I'll show you a couple of things, and then this is the first thing that I'm going to show you is going back to the question of how do you know when your model is any good. This is how I do it. Okay. Now I'm going to just call this new project here. So I'm going to click on new project. We're going to put it right here. And let's see. Northwestern. We'll put it in Northwestern, and we'll call this thing, this project, we're going to call it Predict 411 Unit 2. So how about if we name it that? Okay, so I got a directory, and I give it a project name, and we hit finish. It opens up. And if you don't worry about taking notes, I'm going to post this. And this is what I'm going to do here is only going to take about 10 minutes of your time. If you get lost, don't worry about that, okay? I'm just going to show you some interesting techniques, and then we'll go into actual coding. But what you do is Enterprise Miner, when you open it up, it's going to look like this. The first thing you need to do is right here where it says Project Start Code. Click on these three dots, and it's going to open up a code window. And then we're going to say, and this is code that will be run every time Enterprise Miner opens up this project. So we're going to do libname mydata, and then we're going to put in the path to where our files are. And they are right here. This is on my hard drive, so yours would be somewhere else. Wow, that's a big, long path. I don't like that. Well, let's see if it works. I don't even know. Okay, so I put that there, and I hit Run Now, and I hit OK. So this code right here is going to run every time I open up Enterprise Miner, and I'm going to create a guy called MyData. So now I click on Data Sources. I right-click on this guy, create a data source. Hit Next. Hit Browse. MyData. There, he sees that library. I double-click on him. And there we go, Logistic Insurance. That's the data set we're going to use. Hit OK. And I just hit Next, 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 and we're done. Okay. Now the next thing we're going to do is SAS now has a data source there, Logistic Insurance. Now we're going to create a diagram. I highlight this guy. I right-click, create a diagram, and we're going to call this I don't know, Winter 2017. And now the rest of this is going to be as easy as falling in love. So if you're lost, just watch the video a few times. If it's still beyond you, don't mess with this. Keep doing the code. This is bingo bonus points. I'm showing you how to grab a lot of bingo bonus points if you can figure this out. So anyways, go here, drag this guy on the screen. So there's our data source. If I hit Run, there it is. And I'm just hit Run, and it loads the data in, and we can even take a look at the data in for 1 second. So if I right-click and hit Edit the Variables, these are all the variables that we have. So the neat thing is, I can highlight them and hit Explore. And there it is. He shows me all the variables, and I can actually look at the data too. There it all is. The neat thing is you can see we've got missing variables here. I've got categorical variables, all sorts of stuff. But we're not going to worry about that yet. The first thing we're going to do, click on this guy. It says Utility. Go over here to this letter I. It says Metadata. Drag him on the screen. We're almost ready to build a model. We're going to hit Run and load this guy in. And We click on train right here. Let's open this guy up, and we're going to tell SAS what to do with it. Okay, index. SAS thinks this is an input variable, but it's not. It's simply an ID variable. This is an identification variable like a social security number. We don't want to use it in the model. What else do we know? Target flag. This is going to be what we're going to predict. SAS thinks it's a target. He's right. He thinks it's a 1 or a 0. He thinks it's a number. We're going to say, no, that's a binary. We don't care about the amount right now. We're going to strictly predict only who crashes their car. So I'm going to turn this to rejected. The rest of these guys are going to be input variables. So basically what happens is I can say, there's only 4 things I tell SAS. I can say it's an input variable. That's stuff that goes into a model. I can say it's a target that comes out of a model. I can say it's an input, an ID. That's something that I don't want to throw away, but I want to possibly use it for, keep it around like a social security number, but I don't want it to go into the model. And then reject is just something I don't want to use for anything. So those are input.
In Rattle, didn't we say the ID was like hidden?
Yeah, this is very similar to Rattle. And incidentally, anybody who used Rattle last time, use it again, you'll get more bonus points, okay? What I'm going to show you, you can still do with Rattle, but now we're going to do it with Enterprise Miner, and you're going to see Enterprise Miner as probably the superior tool, but of course Rattle is free, and this costs a couple $100,000. So, there's a reason this is better. But yes, this is very similar to what we did with Rattle. Okay, so anyways, the other thing you're going to want to do with SAS is you're going to want to go through these variables one at a time and make sure that SAS correctly says what type of variable is it. Like age, he thinks this is an interval or a number. That's fine. Blue Book, that's the price of the car. I happen to know these variables. That's why I know. If I don't know, I come down here and hit Explore, and SAS will show me the variable. Like the Blue Book. Okay, that's a number. Fine. So I happen to know the default is interval here. Okay, fine. Car age, that's fine. Type of the car and the car use, both of those are categories like red, green, or blue, but in this case it's going to be car type, might be sports car or SUV or something like that. Car use, commercial, personal, whatever. Claim frequency, this is how many claims or times did you crash your car in the past. Education, this would be like PhD or high school or whatever. Home kids, this is how many kids are at home. Home value, your income. Index, we're not going to use that. That's an identification variable. We don't want to use it. So I changed it from default to ID. Your job. Do your kids drive the car? Your marital status, that's a category. Your MVR points, that's how many traffic tickets do you have. Your oldest claim, are you a single parent? That's a yes or a no. Do you own a red car? Was your license revoked? Are you a male or a female? Time in force, the longer you've had an insurance policy, the less risky you are. Urbanicity, are you driving in the city or the country? So this is it. So we got most of this stuff fixed. Okay, now the first question that people say is, Don, how do I know if my model is any good? Well, there's a couple of ways you can do it. One way is you could break out a holdout sample, and you could break out a sample of data from your training data set, and you could test your model to see if it's any good. We can do that too tonight if you want, but let's just not even have a holdout sample. Let's just keep the data as is. One of the things I do is I will typically throw a decision tree at any problem. And I'm going to say to the decision tree, hey, decision tree, let me know how good you are. I mean, build me a model, and I'm going to use that as my baseline. Because trees may not be the world's best model, but they usually are pretty resilient. They can handle missing values. They can handle weird outliers, all sorts of stuff. They're pretty robust. They're like a real tree. You know, a real tree goes through a lot of abuse, and they still hang around for 100 years. So decision trees are kind of the same way. So I'm going to build a decision tree, and then I'm going to come over here and I'm going to say, hey, Mr. Decision Tree, how good are you? So let's take a quick look. So SAS is writing SAS code behind the scenes here. So he's actually writing, I think that the SAS code for trees would be PROC split. So we're going to, but he's going to run this thing, and let's see how good the tree is. And then he's right now building a very quick decision tree. And let's see, and we wait a few more minutes. And oh, now he's seeing how good the model is. Okay. You hit results. And there you go. You've got yourself a ROC curve here. So you're saying, well, is this a good ROC curve or a bad one? Well, if you guys remember, anybody who's done the reading yet, you can see that pulling names out of a hat is this red line right here. A perfect ROC curve would be a line that goes all the way to the top here and all the way over. So this thing is somewhere between perfect and better than pulling names out of a hat. And this is, you know, pretty good lift on this guy. Now, the whole point is with these ROC curves is you say, well, is this good or bad? The real answer to this is it depends on what industry you're in. It depends on the problem you're trying to do, the data that you have available. Credit scoring usually will have a very big ROC curve. Why? Because credit is pretty easy. Who's not going to pay me back? Poor people who don't pay their bills. Those people don't pay me back. Okay. What about people who are going to crash their car? Well, if you like to speed and you like to drive the wrong way on the road with a blindfold on and you'd like to drink whiskey while you're driving, that guy is probably going to crash his car. Okay. So there's some pretty obvious things, you know, so maybe crashing your car is a little trickier to predict than credit. But then you say, like, who wants to buy Twinkies? That's not such an easy thing to predict. So the ROC curve for that might be a lot smaller. But the point that I'm trying to say is use Rattle or Enterprise Miner or Angus. Angus is an easy tool to use. It's really powerful. Use it, guys. You get bonus points for it. And plus, a lot of companies who can't afford SAS Enterprise Miner will use Angus. So you might get yourself a job just by putting Angus on your resume. Okay. The first thing I will do is I build myself a tree. I don't care if I'm predicting a number or a yes or a no or anything else. I build a tree. Why? Because now I'm going to go over here and I'm going to build myself a logistic regression. Okay. Now, if we looked at the variables, you can see that we, in fact, have a lot of missing variables. So let me open this guy up one more time. And let's just print a couple of these. I want you to see that there's some missing variables here. See, those white squares means there's missing variables. But let's take a look at it real fast. Car age. Look, what job do you have? Some of them are missing, right? Look at this. Your income, it's missing, it's missing, it's missing, it's missing. I got missing variables. If I'm going to do something with logistic regression, I'm going to need to fix those things. Now, we've already seen in this class, how do you fix those things with a data step. The nice thing about Enterprise Miner is he can fix them for me. So if I click on this Modify tab and click on Impute and drag him on, he will fill in the missing values. If he doesn't know what you make, like your income, he'll fill it in with an average value. Or if he doesn't know if you're male or female, he'll choose it are there more males in the data set or more females? So he'll fill it in that way. So he's going to fill in these missing variables. And I'm going to come over here and I'm going to grab, let's say, a logistic regression. And I'm going to connect him. And I'm also going to come over here and say, hey, would you do a stepwise selection for me? And voila. And let's run this guy. Now, the fact, Belinda, and you asked about this, is how do you know if your model's any good? At least I think that was you who asked it. Was that you, Belinda?
Yes.
Okay. So, Belinda, I've already built a tree. We're going to see how the regression fares against the tree. Now, if the regression's a little better or a little worse, they're about the same. If it's massively better or if it's massively worse, that says to me that well, massively better is usually a pretty good sign, but if it's massively worse, it means I got some work to do. So let's just see how that guy did. So the tree, the regression is the red line, and the tree was the blue line. So, Belinda, which one of these is better?
The red line.
Right, and which one is that? Is that the regression or the tree?
The regression.
So the point is, a tree is a great baseline. It really is a nice baseline to use. You can use Rattle for that, use Enterprise Miner, use anything. That's what I like to do. So if you're like, well, how good does it have to be? Now, the other thing we can do is you can also come over here and I could come over here and also Enterprise Miner, and you could also write this in code if you guys want tonight. I can show you how to test on like a holdout sample. But I can come over here and I'm going to say, let's use 70% of my data for training, and we're going to use 30% for test. So I'm going to have a holdout sample. I know what the answer is, but I'm going to ask, but I'm not going to let SAS know. So I know 30% of my data will randomly be used for testing, and 70% will be for building a model. So let's run these guys again, and now let's see how he does on a new data set that I know the answer to, but I'm going to build a model and see how the model performs. So now he's splitting the data up. And while this is running, just a quick question, am I losing everybody at the bakery, or is this interesting? You know, what's going on here, folks? Help me out.
It's very interesting. Maybe the screen's a little small for me, but how'd you get the bubbles on there?
The bubbles.
So like,
you mean the icons?
Yeah.
Oh, well, okay, I'll show you in one moment.
And hey, Don.
And then the two lines in the ROC curve, is one the decision tree and the second one is the bottom regression?
Yep, that's it.
And so because there are two lines going to model comparison, they're both showing up in the ROC curve?
That's correct.
Okay, thanks.
So now I've got the training data set and I've got the testing data set. So you can see that the regression seems to win, and I would look at the testing data set. So first of all, the training data set and the testing data set, they kind of look the same, and that's good. And consistently, the regression beats the tree. So, and the nice thing about Enterprise Miner is I can do all sorts of other stuff with this thing. I can throw a neural network and let him fight against the tree and the regression. And there's all sorts of stuff. And then one really cool thing, so if you're falling asleep, because we're doing the show and tell tonight, we don't have a lot of time, so I'm going to not show you a lot of Enterprise Miner, but if you guys watch the video that I have, it will really take you through this. So this is worth watching that video that I showed. But the thing that I really like about Enterprise Miner is if I run this guy, he's going to write standalone SAS code for me. So remember how you have to write the score code? He will do everything that you need to do from beginning to end. So all the fixing of the missing values. We've got all sorts of nodes up here that do things like transform the variables and blah, blah, blah. He does it all, and he writes the code in a single data step. So if you look at this, this is really complicated looking code, but what it simply is doing is it's saying, hey, listen, if I don't know what your job is, if your job is missing, then he's simply going to say, hell, what the heck is he doing? Hell, I can't even read the damn code. I'm sorry about that. It's complicated looking. Let's take a look at it from the. So the age, okay, if the age is missing, then he's going to make it to be 44 years. If your job is missing, he's going to make you a blue-collar person. So this is the logic that he has, but he will dump this code inside of SAS for you. And the nice thing about this is I can simply turn this into a data step real easy. So I just take this code and hit Control A, hit Control C to copy it, and then I can go and it's complicated code, but you can hand it in. You just simply say, you know, data scored stuff set my data dot moneyball. Oh no, we're doing insurance, right? Insurance test. And then you put a run down here and you're done. So this writes the code for you, and it's got all the regression formulas in there and everything. So it's sort of a neat tool, and I can, if anybody wants, give me a call next week, and maybe if I'm going to be in Kansas, so it's going to be tricky, but I can walk you through. But I really highly recommend just watching the video that I have, because I'm doing all sorts of stuff in there. I got neural networks and other cool stuff. But this is sort of a neat little tool. So the question that you had was, how do I validate the model? I like to use a tree, or we could do a holdout set. Those are the two things that I like to do. Those are my two favorite. So does that answer your question at all, Belinda?
Yes, it did. Thank you.
Okay. So let me get out of here, and let me go into some SAS code. And let's see here. Let me think here. Code. Okay, here we go. So let's do the insurance homework here. Okay, we'll rename this guy to 2017-02. Oh, by the way, happy Groundhog Day, everyone. I think I have the code for that in my other data file. Okay, so here, this is code where I'm just simply saying this will do nothing more than print the first 5 records of the data file. And I'll post this later. So here you go. So here's our data set that we're going to use, PROC Logistic. And I guess the first thing we'll do real quick, data temp file, set in file, run. Let's build a model that has only a couple of variables in it. Let's do proc contents data equals in file, or temp file. Let's do two, temp file. Okay, so let's keep the flag. And let's do I don't know, let's keep the MVR points. So this is how many times did you have a traffic ticket. So we'll keep that one. What else do we want to keep? How about the person, male or female? Like, let's take their gender. Let's take the gender. Anybody else have a preference? Let's do one more. How about the kids drive your car?
Yeah.
Okay. So we're just going to use 3 variables in our model. Okay. And hopefully one of those has got a missing value in it. You know how we can test? Watch this. PROC means data equals temp file. See, what I'm going to do is I always copy it. I never mess with my original data file. If I screw it up, I've lost it. So I always make a copy of it. And right now I'm only going to keep these variables. I want to see if I have any missing values here. So I'm going to say n missed. So that's going to tell me the number of missing ones. And I'm going to say, what's the mean? var MVR points. And what else? Kids drive. How many kids are driving my car? And then the categorical one, we're going to say PROC frequency, data equals temp file, table sex, missing, run. Okay, so let's take a quick look here. So, we don't have any kids missing. And how about income? Let's throw income in there too. How about that? I think income has got some missing ones in there. Yep, income's got a missing value at 445 of them. So if I don't know your income, the average is 61,000. Okay, so what I could do is I'm going to come over here and I'm going to say, if missing income, then income equals, and they say 61,898, but you know what? I'm going to just call it 60,000. Why? Because if I put 61,898 and I try to go in and show that to the vice president of rate making at my company, he's going to say, what the hell is that number? So you got to give him a nice round number. I'm going to say 60,000. Maybe I say 65. Just document what you did. But sometimes making it a nice, pretty number, you don't have to sit there. This is not some kind of religious dogma here. You don't ever have to keep this number. I can do any number I want, really. I suspect, or I encourage you to do something that makes sense. But, you know, this is not, you're not a slave to this program. You're allowed to exercise common sense. So there we have it. So let's just go with this guy right now. And see if we have any missing values. Nope, nothing missing. We fixed them all. Now, let me show you how to do a ROC curve here. PROC logistic, data equals temp file. And we have 20 minutes here. PROC logistic data equals temp file. I think in this guy right here, I may have the code. Just a moment. It's been a while since I wrote this, so I may have to. Nope, that ain't it. One of these guys has it. Let's just go down the list. Yep, there, this one, this is the code. This is how to do it. So I'm going to do PROC logistic, give it a name of the file, temp file. Then you type plot only, and then you give it ROC ID. This is the command right here. We have a class statement here, gender. So sex is a class, and the job the person has, whether or not they have a red car, any sort of category has to be defined as a class. Then we're going to say target flag, and then we simply are going to put all of our variables there. And they have to line up, or it's going to drive me nuts. And then, if you want, SAS is even obliging enough if you want to just say append a score here. He will score whatever file you give him. So just give him the temp file here, and he will append a score. So we could even do this. PROC print data equals scored file. Observations equals 10. Run. Okay. So let's run this guy and see what we get. So who asked? Somebody asked about how do you get a ROC curve. There's your ROC curve right there. Not the world's best ROC curve based upon what you might have seen in Enterprise Miner, but Enterprise Miner used a lot more variables. I just pulled about 4 or 5 of them, just out of thin air. So I didn't do a lot of work with this, but still, you can just visually tell that this is better than pulling numbers out of a hat. Now, how do you read the ROC curve? Well, what this number here means is that if I set the cutoff value at 27%, which means that if I say everybody that has a 27% chance of crashing their car, I'm going to say that they do crash their car. If I make the cutoff at 27%, I'm going to find about 55, we'll call this 55% of the people who crash their car. Unfortunately, if I set that number to 27%, I will unfortunately also get about 30% of the people who don't crash their car, but I'm going to say they do. If I make it a little bit more strict and I say, okay, let's make this thing 37%, then it's going to be about, I'll find 27% of the people who crashed their car instead of 50. So this is about 30%. But I will only have about, 15% false positives. So this is a trade-off of I want to get as many of these people as possible, and I don't want any false positives. If I make the cutoff value so low that everybody crashes their car, I'm going to find everybody. Unfortunately, I'm also going to get all the people who didn't crash their car are going to be classified as a false positive. So that's how you read this thing. So this is how you can do this. And then if you take a very quick look, you can see that SAS, by putting this score statement in there, you can see that SAS has provided a probability score. So he says this first guy, his kids don't drive the car. He's got $67,000 of income. He's a male. He's got 3 traffic tickets. Well, we think that this guy's got a 28% chance of crashing his car. He didn't, but we think he's got a 28% chance of crashing it. Take a look at this guy. This guy has his one teenager driving his car. He makes $107,000 a year. He's a male. He's got 10 traffic tickets. Well, that's the kind of guy you want on your street, huh? And he's got a 64% chance of crashing his car, and incidentally, he actually did. So that's how you can read this stuff. So this is a very quick and dirty.
What if it was his kid that crashed the car, though? Does that matter in this homework assignment?
Well, what this really means is that not that he crashed his car, but he filed a claim.
Okay? Yeah.
I don't care who crashed the car. This guy sent me the bill, and I don't want that. So I don't care if his kids crashed the car or he did. I don't want him filing a claim. So that's the answer to the question. Incidentally, if you really want to know something, if you're doing auto insurance, in many states, I think in every state, it's actually illegal to use your income as a rating factor. So, file that under interesting information, which is why domain expertise in an industry is actually very important. Because if you didn't know this, you might get in a lot of trouble. So, but if you worked at an insurance company, they'll tell you that real fast. But I'm just letting you know that there's all sorts of rules and regulations in various industries. So anyways, we still got about 10 minutes, and I showed you a couple of different things. What I would recommend you guys do, if you have time to play with Enterprise Miner, do it. Don't do it to the exclusion of everything else. Okay, do the code first. But if you can use Enterprise Miner, that's great. If not, or if you can do that, still use Rattle. Okay, Rattle is a powerful tool, and you can get bonus points for doing both. I don't care if you used it last assignment, use it again. I'll give you more bonus points, okay? I would use Rattle for a decision tree. I mean, if nothing else, you can use it as a real quick and dirty way to see how good your model is. And then next assignment, when we have the one, we're going to predict who wants to drink wine. Basically, it's going to be a big picture of my wife. She likes wine, so you get to. I would try using Angus for that one, or something else. Keep trying different tools and different techniques. So that's. So do we have any other quick comments or questions? But here, this guy here is really useful. You don't have to use the Excel spreadsheet I gave you. You can certainly use this just as easily. Questions, comments, thoughts? Anybody?
I do, but I feel like I've been asking all the questions, so I want to let some other people ask some.
Oh, I'll take whatever questions I can get. Let's see. Nothing on the chat window. Let's see here. Oh, Margaret, you became my favorite student. She says, EM is my new favorite thing. I love Enterprise. When I was at SAS, I used to be the demo monkey for Enterprise Miner, and when customers were going to cancel it, I would go in there and whip them into a frenzy and make them love it again, because I love it. It's my favorite thing on this earth. Next to my wife and children, of course. But then there's some days that I just really love this tool. So, I feel like Hank Hill from King of the Hill, where he says that, his only mistress is propane and propane accessories. And Enterprise Miner is slow online. Yes, I'm sure it is, Hyro, but you know what? I would still learn it, because when it goes on your resume, it might be slow online, but it's fast at getting you a job. Can you also get these ROC curves using Rattle? I think you can, but I don't know off the top of my head. You'll have to try to take a quick look at that. But I think that Rattle.
Yeah, we used R in 401. Remember? Yeah, we made them not with Rattle, but just in basic R.
So if you want to whoever said that, if you want to post the R, I'm not an R expert at all. So if somebody wants to post the code for that, if people use it, be sure you say, hey, Lance or Margaret or whoever the hell said that. If you post the code and send on the website, and somebody uses it, please put a big red box in your homework and says, hey, somebody posted some code and it really helped me. Then I'll give them some bonus points for being a good corporate citizen.
Okay.
Try to be, if somebody really does something nice for you, please put it in your homework, and make it obvious, because I grade these so fast. I sometimes, if you hide it like in the 5th paragraph, I'm going to miss it. But make it obvious, and then I'll I'm not going to give them 90 bonus points, but I might give them 5, and it's a nice thing to do for the person who helps you. So let's see, what else? Anybody else got any questions? Because we have to still stick around for the show and tell. And if anybody has more questions after this, please give me a quick holler, and we can see, and I'll try to, set up some time or answer it on, maybe.
Okay. So I was doing the correlations for EDA, and I wanted to include some of the categorical variables in the correlation plot matrix, and so I changed some of the variables to like 0s and 1s instead of yes and no, and SAS still left it out, so I was wondering what I was doing wrong.
Well, here's what I would do. You're probably better off if you really want to know if it's you want to see if it's correlated to the target?
Yeah, like like male and female or something.
Okay, watch this. Let me show you the best way to do it. This is going to be life-changing. Who am I talking to?
Liz.
Liz, watch this. Liz, this is going to be life-changing. In fact, I'll tell you this. If this doesn't change your life, I'm going to have, Belinda. Belinda will give anyone, if this doesn't change your life, Belinda's going to send you guys $25. Right, Belinda? See, that's how you know. Would I be this free with Belinda's money if I wasn't so certain? Okay, watch.
That's fine. Go ahead, Don.
Okay, there you go. PROC frequency. Watch this. Table, and then we're going to do sex, and then you're going to put star target underscore flag. Missing. Run. Now watch this. Okay. Now it's going to give me a 2x2 matrix. Okay. Right here, you can see that everybody, it's 26% of the people crash their car. Okay. However, you can see that males, 74% of them don't crash their car. See, it basically, we're only interested in this middle column here because it adds up to 100%. 25% of the males don't crash their car, or do crash their car. 27% of the females crash. Okay? That says to me that that's probably not a predictive variable. Let's throw another one in there. Okay? Let's say education. Incidentally, Liz, was that life-changing for you?
Say yes, so I don't have to pay the 25.
Maybe let's see another one first.
Okay, here we go. Now I just did it with education. If you don't have a high school diploma, you have a 32% chance of crashing your car as opposed to 26. Okay? If you've got a PhD, you've got a 17% chance as opposed to 26. So clearly, education is important. Less than high school and high school. You know, I'm just running PROC eyeball here. You know, masters and PhD, that's 19 and 17. So these guys don't crash their car. Bachelor's is about average. High school people do. You know, so there's clearly a correlation with education.
Wait, not clear.
Not clear? Why not?
No. Nope.
Okay.
What?
Do you see that 32% of the people who didn't go to high school crashed their car? Do you see that number?
I'm with you so far.
Yeah, so Don, the confusing part is that just draw her eye over to the upper left corner where it says frequency, percent, row percent, column percent. That's defining what those four figures are.
That's helpful.
So that's why he's picking the 32, because that's the row percentage.
But then how did you know that it's highly correlated?
Well, because look at this. 32% of the people crash their car if they are in this group.
Okay.
But everybody is 26%.
Okay.
So if I was just guessing, it would say 26% of the people. But if I say, but you didn't go to high school, suddenly that number jumps up to 32%. That's a bigger number than 26, and it's much bigger. It's not like going from 26 down to 23. That might just be noise. But going from 26 to 32, that seems like a big number. And going from 26 down to 17, that's kind of a big number. I mean, I'm just eyeballing it right here. I mean,
Okay.
You might not think that's a big deal. I do, but when we looked at males and females, on the other hand, that was those numbers were pretty darn close.
So you're comparing it to the average. That was the crazy.
That was my Yep, that's all I'm doing. And
Okay.
I'm basically running what I like to call, and I'm about to make a really funny SAS joke here. I'm running PROC eyeball. Okay, let's take a look at red car. Let me hear. This is Liz, right?
Yeah.
Okay, Liz, tell me this. And there's no wrong answer. It's just an opinion. People say red cars are correlated to people crashing their car.
Right, I've heard that.
Okay, the average is 26%. A guy with a red car is 25%. Do you think that's true in this data set?
That red is means more crashes. No, yeah, because they're all the same number.
Yeah, they're pretty much the same. 26, 25. I would say they're pretty much the same number.
So no correlation.
That's what I would say, but you can make up your own mind. That's what I'm paying you to tell me. You know, I'm the boss, and you might say, hey, that's a big number. I think it's not, but you know, hey.
Yeah.
So there you go. So that's how I would do this. Want me to show you one other thing, just for fun?
Yeah.
Watch this, and then I gotta let you go, okay? Because we have to hop on the other one. PROC means data equals in file, class, target, flag, var, income, run. Now watch this. So if I class it by something, people who crash their car have an average income of $50,000. People who don't crash their car have an average income of $65,000. So do you think income is a good predictor of crashing your car?
Yeah, it's a pretty big gap.
Yeah, that's what I would say too. And let's even look at something else like kids drive. I'm going to do print all types. Okay, let's do that again. Okay, so now I'm saying, no, it didn't work. I thought it was going to work. I think I got the wrong. I think I had the wrong option there. Oh well, I'll figure it out later. Okay, so here, my kids drive the car, and I don't crash it. It's 13%. Okay, so 13%. So the people who don't crash their car, there's 13% of them have their kids drive. People who do crash their car, 25%. Do you think that's a predictor?
It's another fair gap, yeah.
Big gap. So a poor person who lets their kid drive the car, I don't want to insure them. So that's kind of that's a good way of doing it. So Liz, was that life-changing?
Yeah, I think the only thing I'm missing is how to do all of them at once, like with PROC Core. But I do like it. It was cool.
Oh, well, how to do them all at once is easy. Underscore numeric score. How about that?
And will that bring in the categorical variables I turned into 0 and 1?
No, it will. You would have to do that for the PROC frequency.
Okay.
So that's how you would do those ones. So you would do the PROC frequency. I think you could do the PROC frequency. Oops, got the wrong one here. PROC frequency, you could do it this way. Table underscore, I think you do it like this, underscore character, I think. No, that's not it. I'm going to have to look up the syntax for that. I'm sorry.
I appreciate it.
Do it by hand for now, but I'll look it up. Okay. Hey, listen, we got to go. We've got the other one on right now. So I will post this code and I'll also post the sync session for you later. Okay, guys?
Thanks, Don.
Okay. So let me say record off for right now.